at DEF this year, and we kind of got back these very stereotypical responses of, I want to hear about cyber, AI, gamification, and really tech-related stuff. We like to be crowd pleasers, so hopefully we've actually delivered on that in the morning panels. And also had a demonstration that none of those people who sat on this morning's panels were actually from the military, and that the importance of innovation, as the Deputy Chief of Army said when he came in, is about those networks, and not just internal military networks, but bringing what's outside inside, and what's inside also outside to those industry and those military professionals and security professionals. But to let you in on a bit of a secret, the theme of this forum is not actually innovation. It is a unifying concept. But what this forum, what DEF is actually about, is the profession of arms. It's about how do we win the future fight? Who do we need to be in that future fight? What are those characteristics? And how, when we're still at peace, do we start to get around some of those concepts? So now that we've got you locked in the room, we've given you what you wanted this morning, now we're getting into the real serious side of what's going on. And the way that we've done this DEF program is to really kind of schedule it to put you through a roller coaster of emotions. So this morning, I hope you felt some optimism about what technology can actually do for you. And now what this session 2 is going to do, and what Professor Dan Marsden will do for you tomorrow, is to really now ground you in the reality that is the profession of arms, in the brutality and the violence and the sheer hard slog that is the nature of war, where there are no panaceas, where there are no quick fixes, where the enemy gets a vote, and where the lack of thinking or the lack of adaptation can have just as many consequences as what the kinetic enemy action against you can have. And Professor Dan Marsden, who's meant to be speaking at the moment, so I'm a bit of a fill-in speaker, will be taking you through tomorrow. And of course, we're at relative peace at the moment, which means we have the luxury to choose to innovate, instead of the concept when we're at war, where the enemy will be forcing that innovation and that adaptation upon us. Although we are at this competitive interwar period. And it was great to hear the debate over morning tea, and certainly to get those academic juices flowing about what you thought about the cyber presentation and AI and about gamification. And hopefully what we just saw in the mess was differences of opinion to get to a stronger solution. So if that's what you were doing, that is actually what DEF is about. So to let you in on another secret, the idea pitches are actually an opportunity that we're taking. They are a second order effect. However, the main reason why you're here is exactly what the Deputy Chief of Army spoke about this morning. Innovation is about a culture of our people. That culture of our people is not just about individual stovepipes, but it's about the teamwork, it's about that diversity of thought, it's about that debate and intellectual argument to then, as a profession of arms, to take that thinking and make it into an action. And of course, as a profession of arms, it's competitive. It is against an adversary, which means that solutions are not actually solutions. It's just about the next adaptation that we need to do against the enemy. And that's why DEF is this point of difference. We are not a TED Talk of pure inspiration. We are not a blog that's going to give you, here are the 5 top things to do, and you'll reach a different solution. We're about the hard slog that is the nature of war. It is about taking those moments of optimism that gamification could give us and to put it into the context of who we are as a profession. And who we are as a profession needs to look at all of those things from cyber and AI and gamification, but it also needs to do it in context. It needs to do it in the context of what's happening in the world right now, whether it be the missile and nuclear developments in North Korea, the contestability that's happening in the South China Sea, Philippines, where we now have troops and air assets, Myanmar and the human devastation that is happening, Iran and the contestability that's happening in the Middle East, the little green men and the buzzword of hybrid warfare that saw the annexation of Crimea and ongoing in Ukraine. It's about those moments in time that happened about a month ago when Zimbabwe had that turmoil. It's about domestic politics and what that people decisions look like on the global and world order. It's about piracy. It's about drug wars. So the next debate when you move into lunch that we'd really like you to have is, what does gamification against that context actually look like? And if you want to put this against the profession of arms, think about a moment of time that may have happened in your past. For many of us, I saw on the tweet wall that us over 30s are probably out of vogue in this conference right now. But for those of us who are over 30, of which I'm one, a moment in time was 9/11 for me. That moment of time then translated into what happened as a lieutenant and as a captain in my profession of arms. So what is the moment of time, the context that you're looking at right now as you think about cyber and AI and gamification? And suddenly when you look at innovation, often the thing that you get told is about what, the what of innovation, the what we are going to be, which includes all of those things from robotics, additive manufacturing, unmanned autonomous systems, human enhancements, both pharmaceutical and machine, pervasive ISR, denied space. The list rolls on, and I know Colonel Langford will be speaking about some of them. But the profession of arms is about this symbiotic relationship. It's about marrying the what up with the who we need to be in order to win against future adversaries. And that can be really difficult to look at the who we need to be, because often, particularly junior leaders, I'm tracking, you get given a huge list of who you need to be. You need to be a leader. You need to be innovative. You need to be adaptive. You need to be intelligent. You need to be physically robust. You need to be resilient. You need to be a team player. All of these things of who you need to be in order to win this future fight. But let's just isolate that term of innovation for just one moment. And that's really difficult. So if you're not looking at what we need to be, what does it mean for who we need to be? And who we need to be is largely driven through the nature of war, the what we need to be characterising the future of conflict, the nature of war being that steadfast, that we can see driven through the Western Front of World War I, through to, this photo was taken in Mosul this year, through to depictions of what people think future conflict will look like. And whilst the tech in those photos changes, you can see that the nature of war is pervasive throughout and who we need to be. Whenever we get stuck on who we need to be, and it's good that we're at Staff College for DEF this year, and we were here last year too, sometimes you can get stuck because all of those moments in time, from what's happening in North Korea and China and Zimbabwe and the Middle East and with Russia, can be quite difficult to predict what happens next. Looking forward to the future of who we need to be is important. Looking back to the past of what has worked in the past to put it in the context of the future is sometimes a good place to start. Now, when you look back in the past of who they needed to be to win future conflicts, their future conflicts, it looked a lot like some common themes of networked learning and innovation for adaptation in war. People who succeeded in war looked a lot like using their peacetime opportunities, not resting on their laurels, in order to then come up with innovations which then provided a foundation for learning and adaptation in war. This included things like the Naval Warfare Academy in the United States, wargaming every possible scenario that they could think of against Japan. This then came up with plans, War Plan Orange, War Plan Rainbow, and the thing that they say, the only thing that they didn't predict out of those concepts was the kamikaze aircraft. But they had a foundation to learn and adapt in order to eventually overcome that too. The past has also looked like both formal networks, the formal networks that you can see within your chain of command right now, but reinforced with informal networks. Informal networks you can see, for those of you who have seen up on the cove, Scharnhorst, Enlightened Soldier, where when you go to the back of that book, there is rules of engagements for informal networks in order to debate concepts about future war, in order to spend the time behind the scenes to reinforce what they were doing within their work as staff officers at that stage to win future fights, and that certainly then gave them a foundation for success. It looks a lot like pairing technical innovation with then the concept of innovation and the people innovation, which again, Deputy Chief of Army spoke about. It looks like doing things such as William Sims, who is a naval officer, who as his first junior rank, wrote to President Roosevelt, I think in about 1913, who saw naval gunnery practices and said this technology doesn't work with the concept of how we were employing them in the past. He wrote to Roosevelt, who had a naval background, and Roosevelt then empowered that junior leader to change naval practices. Pre-war period, in an interwar period, he did that. They say then that those naval gunnery practices, and you can Google this, those naval gunnery practices were then the foundation for success for how the US operated during World War I and how the UK operated. Innovation in peacetime for learning and adaptation in wartime was driving success. Probably a more well-known one is John Boyd. So John Boyd took what technology and aircrafts were doing and came up with the concept of OODA loop and a multitude of other concepts. Technology paired with conceptual innovation. Not just industry innovating for the military, but industry working with then conceptual leaders of the profession of arms to then drive innovation in peacetime for employment of learning and adaptation in wartime. The past has looked like that. And what I think the past really shows us is that there is no one solution. So one solution of reading and writing and thinking is one way. Wargaming, debating, coming up with war concepts, coming up with technical innovations in stride before war and during war. That network of different activities that is going on has shown that that is the resilience and the robustness to be a foundation of people's success during war. What the present looks like. The present looks slightly similar in that who do we need to be for future conflict? We're seeing the trends of what technology needs to be for future conflict. And what we'd like you to use DEF for is to debate that who you need to be. Who do you need to be innovative? What does that mean? What are you doing both at work and in your spare time? And we don't really have an answer for you for that, apart from we believe that the powers of you combined in this room, by talking to people outside of defence, by debating it inside defence, by using the tweet wall right now to bring both the power of intellectual minds that may not be here today and bringing them inside this room to share these thoughts is probably part of the solution as we move forward. It is not about working in stovepipes and it's not about industry innovating for us, but this team effort, this multilateral team approach. As a bit of an advertisement then, some of those informal mechanisms as part of this greater network you'll be seeing throughout the course of DEF. You'll be seeing some of these things on Saturday too, if you stick around for military writing, and also the Postern Association. But this is really just to leave a thought bubble in your mind of what you could do, to see what is happening now, to debate those concepts of both technology and people, and then to come up with better solutions, because certainly what the DEF team's doing right now may not be right. Again, there is no solution. There's only the next adaptation you need to do, because in our business, it's competitive and the adversary is always adapting, which means that we never can stand still. The way that we've set up DEF, as I said at the beginning, is all about these linking sessions. So bright inspiration to begin with, although the vacuum cleaner about to kill you is probably a bit of the pessimism of technology, to then build you up to the profession of arms, to then take you through practical innovation. The two speakers that we've got next is the theme of people. So we've got Colonel Ian Langford, who's going to take you through what that future environment is. It is not just about tech, but pairing the tech trends with what these people and conflict trends also look like. And another foundation of success when we move forward looking at war is about where the human remains within these technology trends, which can be lost sometimes in the white noise of it. And that's where Dean is going to take you through, not forgetting the people and not forgetting the humanity of who we are as we move forward and have this innovation conversation.